Okay. So this is really a beautiful, beautiful teaching, and it's about beautiful colors. Um, so what are we talking about? We're talking about bringing donations in order to build the Mishkan. And there are a bunch of things that are listed that the Yidden were supposed to bring as contributions. And in chapter 25, verse 5, it says as follows, V'oiros elim mi'adamim, which means ram skins that are dyed red, and va'oros tchashim, and tchashim skins, va'atzei shittim, and shittim wood. This is the pasuk that we're going to focus on. And specifically, we're going to focus on oros tchashim, which are tchashim skins. We go into Rashi. What does Rashi say? Tchashim. What is tchashim? Skins of tchashim skins. What is it? Min chaya. This is a type of animal, v'loy hoisa el l'sha'a, which existed only at that time. V'harbe gvanim hayula, it had many colors. L'kach mesurgam sasgaina, therefore it is rendered by Targum Unklos as sasgaina, which means in Aramaic, Unklos explains what is this Ores Chashim. He explains it as sasgaina. And what does it mean? Sasgaina could be divided into two words. Sas as in sus, which means happy, even though sas in Aramaic it's two samachs, but in Hebrew two sins, like sas v'sameach is joy. So sasgaina, which means shesas umispaer bagvanin shalai, for it rejoices and prides itself in its colors. Does that sound like a unicorn?
Interesting. Oh, good.
Very, very cool. So basically, it's an animal that only existed for a short amount of time, that had lots of colors, and the skin that's being used as a covering, as a roof for the Mishkan, the outermost covering is made of skins of tchashim. And what is tchashim? It's an animal that has a lot of colors. It's a very colorful skin. That's its nature, and it only existed for that time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break apart this Rashi, and we're gonna discuss this covering and beauty and what it means for our life. Okay. So I'm just gonna follow this poem over here. Okay. Okay, so the tachash, which is this animal, is a type of chaya, says Rashi. Rashi says that it's an animal, and it uses specifically the word chaya. Now, with regards to animals, there's two different types. There's wild animals, and then there's wild animals, and then there's animals that are like farm animals. So what's the difference in name?
Behema.
A behema. So you could have a behema and you could have a chaya. A chaya is a wild animal, a behema is a domestic animal. And Rashi specifically uses the word chaya. Okay, so Rashi said that the tachash is a type of chaya, right? Tachash is a type of chaya, says Rashi. Its skin was as beautiful as can be. It was one of the materials that the Yidden were commanded to bring in order to make the Mishkan's outermost covering. Okay. There's a debate about this creature's identity. Is it a chaya or a behema? There is a dispute in the Talmud Bavli. It is a type of large kosher chaya, says the Talmud Yerushalmi. What compels Rashi to conclude that it was a type of chaya specifically? Okay, so this is very wordy, but basically we're saying like this. There is the Talmud Bavli, the Babylonian Talmud, and then there's a Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud that was written in Jerusalem, versus the Talmud Bavli, which was written in Bavel. So in the Talmud Bavli, there's the discussion. This tachash, is it a wild animal or is it a domestic animal? And in Talmud Bavli, it's a machlekes, which means that there's opinions both sides. And in Talmud Yerushalmi, over there it says that it is a chaya, it's a wild animal. So it seems like Rashi is taking sides. Rashi is saying it's a chaya as if he's following Talmud Yerushalmi. Now, what compels Rashi from a place of pshat to go with the Yerushalmi? Where do we like? Why is he specifically? What compels him to say that it's a chaya and not a behema? And also, it's a kosher animal. So really, in a way, it'd be easier if it was a behema, because like all the domestic animals are usually the kosher ones. The wild animals are usually not. But we know that it was for sure a kosher animal.
How do you know that was kosher?
How do we know that it was kosher? But this is what the Talmud Yerushalmi says. It specifically says that it was a large kosher animal, and it had to be very, very large because it was so large that it was one tachash. The skin of it covered the entire Mishkan, so it had to be like really, really huge. At least that's one of the opinions. So that's what we know about it. So is it a unicorn? Is it like a unicorn? Does a unicorn come from it? It's all debatable. But then there was this article on Chabad.org which I posted, which was very interesting to read. So I guess at least we know where the unicorn comes from. It's not exactly a unicorn. So basically, the article was saying that unicorn has one horn, so that everything is just always points to Hashem. Whatever, it was interesting. Okay. Okay, so first we asked, so we're breaking apart this Rashi, and the first question we asked is, how does Rashi know that it's specifically a chaya and not a behema? Then Rashi continues. Why Rashi continues with it existed only at that time is clear, since about the tachash, a 5-year-old seasoned student never did hear. Rashi describes that it was multicolored too, because the tachash is not an animal that can be found in the zoo. So the fact that he says, it existed only at that time, the harbig vanim hayula, and it had many colors, both of those facts, that makes sense because Rashi is written for a 5-year-old student. Okay, so you could say in those days, a 5-year-old student or a seasoned student, someone who's someone who's learning Chumash, and Rashi is explaining to them everything they would need to know. So since Tachash is not something that you could see today, Rashi has to tell you, A, why don't you see it today? Because it doesn't exist today, and has to describe and tell you that it has many colors. Okay, so all that's fine. However, Rashi's words still need explanation. Why does he elaborate on Onkelos' translation? Onkelos translates it as sas gaina. That should seemingly suffice. Why add the word therefore, ... that it rejoices and takes pride in its colors that are so nice. Okay, so if Rashi wants to bring a proof, fine. He could just say lekach misurgam saskaina. Therefore, it is explained or translated by Onkelos as saskaina, and then that's it. So Rashi is not here to explain other commentaries. He's just here to tell you the most basic understanding of the simple interpretation of the verse. So why is Rashi elaborating, unpacking, explaining this word sasgaina? Why is he doing that? And he says the words shesa, so he's unpacking what this word sasgaina is. And he's saying, Shesas mispa'er bagvanin shalai, for it rejoices and prides itself in its colors. So the Rebbe takes issue. Why is he adding these words? Why does he have to elaborate? And how does that? What does that add? What does that help us in the understanding of the simple interpretation of the verse that it rejoices and prides itself in its colors? Like, it seems. Yeah, it almost seems like a peacock, like it opens up its feathers and like it's like so proud, whatever. But like, what is that? How does that enhance our understanding of anything? Okay, we can understand that there's a beautiful covering that's the outermost covering over the Mishkan, and it's very colorful and beautiful, and it comes from this animal that was there temporarily for the purpose of the Mishkan. And fine, like what more do we need? what's missing? What's more to understand? But we're going to see tons of lessons that we could apply for our life based on this Rashi. That's where we're heading. Okay. So here's the answer ready. The answer is that when Rashi defines tachash as a type of chaya, he does not intend to negate the view that it is a type of behema, but rather Rashi comes to clarify that a tachash is an animal and not a color of dye. So Rashi is not taking sides. He's not saying, oh, it's a wild animal versus a domestic animal. Rashi is not, that's not why Rashi is using the word chaya. He's using the word chaya to tell you that it's an animal and not a color. He's not saying if it's a wild animal versus a domestic animal. He's just telling you chaya that it's an animal and not a color. You might think that it's a color. A tachash is a color. Because we said oiros elim, which are ram skins that are dyed adamim, that are dyed red. V'oiros tchashim. You might think that there's some kind of skin that's colored, that's dyed with this color of tachash. So that's why Rashi is saying, Chai, you should know that these are, that the skins are, the skin of this animal, it's a skin of an animal called a tachash, and it's not that there's a separate dye, that you're taking skin and you're coloring it like the other ram skins, but this is something different where you don't have to dye it, but rather it has its own natural colors already. Okay, excellent question. So the chai means life. And when we go into the Chassidus, we're going to see why it's specifically using the word chaya, but also when you have, there's different kingdoms of existence, right? So you have the inanimate, you have the vegetable kingdom, and then you have the animal kingdom. It's called daimim, tzemeach, chai. The animal kingdom is called chai, life, because the inanimate things, rocks, they don't move. But things that grow, okay, they're more stationary. Of course, like a leaf could, a leaf or a tree or a flower could bend in the wind, but it's more stationary. But something that's alive is moving. So animals move from one place to the other. They migrate. They walk around, whatever it is. So in general, we see that when we're talking about the category of animals that we're using the word chai, and there's going to be a lot more depth as well to this word, to the word chai versus behema. But he's not going into it if which type of animal it is. He's just saying general category that it's an animal and not a color. That's what Rashi's point is. Okay, one might assume that tachash skins compare to ram skins dyed red. If so, red dyed and tachash colored ram skins, the pasuk should have said. Okay, so Rashi learns from the pasuk that it's not a color. Why is it not a color? Because if it was a color, it should say ram skins that are dyed red and the color of tachash. But because it inserts the word skins again, and ram skins that are dyed red, and tchashim skins, so Rashi says, no, it's two separate, it's two different things. It's not just ram skins are dyed this color and that color, because then I wouldn't need the word skins a second time. Since I have the word skins a second time, this is where Rashi learns that no, it's not a color. It's something, it's a different type of skins. So when it says red dyed ram skins and tachash skins, indicates that they aren't the same. From the tachash animal itself, the tachash skins came. So it's not, so it's two separate things. There's two separate skins. It's not that you have skin that's dyed in red and dyed in this multicolored, rainbow colored dye, but rather it's this, rather it's something separate, something different, and the skin is coming from the animal itself and it does not need to be dyed. Okay. Rashi brings and explains Onkelos to prove his point clearly. Sasgaina on its own could be explained as sasgaina. Okay, so we're playing around with the letters. Why does Rashi feel that necessary to unpack this word sasgaina? Because sasgaina is samach samach. And then we said that the samach samach in Aramaic is sin sin in Hebrew, which means joy, like joy, right? That he's happy with his colors. But sin sin could also be shin shin, which is six. So you might think that sas gaina is color. You might think that it's a shesh gaina, six colors. So therefore, Rashi says, don't when you look at Onkelos, what Onkelos means is not a color, six colors, something that or six different shades of a certain color. But Rashi has to unpack and tell you, no, it's not six colors, but rather it's a description. Rather, it's a description of the character of this animal that it rejoices and takes pride in the colors of its skin. So that's why Rashi has to flush it out. Okay. So Sasgaina on its own could be explained as shesh gaina, six colors so pretty. Therefore, Rashi must continue and explain that Sasgaina is a description of an animal that rejoices and takes pride in the colors of its skin. Okay. Now we're gonna even go deeper. We're gonna be even more exact. You want to Rashi, talking to Rashi, we're saying, Rashi, you want to say that it's not six colors, but rather that it's an animal that rejoices with its colors. So the word sus means happy, and gaina is colors. The word pride, where did Rashi get that from? The word pride, that it takes pride in its colors, is something that Rashi is adding on its own, because sas gaina means rejoices in its colors. The word pride, why was Rashi adding this word pride? This is how detailed the Rebbe goes. Like every single word has incredible significance. Why is Rashi taking the liberty to add this word pride? That's what we're asking about Rashi. Okay, so we clarified, okay, do you want to explain that it rejoices in its colors? Fine, but why the word pride? We take issue with that. Okay. Takes pride is additional wording of Rashi to teach us about the Tachash's unique quality. Its colors weren't just a beautiful feature, but its pride about its colors were part of its essential character. So this is what Rashi wants to tell you. It's not just about colors, but the colors affected the animal to the extent that it affected the animal to the extent that this is its character and this is its nature. It's not just something like superficial and outside, but rather this is something unique. Because usually a color, okay, who cares what color? The color is insignificant. The function, if you have a mixer that's red or a mixer that's pink, my daughter Mushka has a KitchenAid that's pink. She wanted a pink KitchenAid. So I'm saying mine is silver, or I don't actually have a Bosch, whatever it is, but it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? The color of it, whatever color it is, it's not going to make a difference of the function. It's like an exterior thing. So usually something that's extra, the color, okay, who cares the color? Doesn't affect the function. It doesn't affect the nature. But in this case, the color, which is something that's completely insignificant, is not just staying insignificant, but actually it's the nature and the character of the animal is affected by the colors.
They say that human beings also, that when you wear a certain color.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So,
sorry,
yeah.
because this is
She
why-
did, and she didn't. She didn't. But
this is
yeah, yeah.
It's very true. I think like subconsciously, when you wear certain colors, you give off a different impression, you feel differently.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So, okay, so we're gonna touch upon it. Yeah, that's why it's a very good class for for us women who are so into colors and
Yeah.
and the color of the napkin has to match, and like all this kind of stuff. We're gonna see that. That's why I was like so wowed by this teaching.
Yeah. So much in that, yeah.
Okay. Now we're gonna take it a step further. Okay, so we're saying that the colors affected the nature and the character of the animal. Okay, now it is clear that a contribution from the animal kingdom is greater than the dye from the plant kingdom, which is lower. Not only were the Tahash's colors part of its skin, but they were part of its nature. The Mishkan's uppermost covering was Tachash skin because it was superior. Okay, so when bringing a sacrifice in the Beis Hamikdash, what is greater, an animal or a sacrifice made out of flour? Right? So the animal, because in the order of the kingdoms, right? So anything that's in the category of an animal is superior to something that's in the category of plant life. So if I have ram skin and I have tachash skin, which one is superior? So true, the ram skin is coming from an animal and the tachash skin is coming from an animal. However, the ram skin had to be dyed, and the dye is coming from the plant kingdom. But the tachash skin not only doesn't have to be dyed because it has its own color, but the contribution that you're giving is really, really is really from the category of animals, because not only is the skin already colored, but the color is part of the nature and the character of the animal. So it's 100% animal, so that's why it's
authentic leather is much more valuable. Fake leather, leather is a pure animal, comes from a pure animal.
Okay, so there you go. So therefore, when you need the outermost covering for the Mishkan, the highest, so we're taking the most beautiful thing, because that's what you're going to see. There's difference of opinion if there are 3 coverings or 4 coverings, but the other coverings no one sees. The outermost covering, which everyone is going to see, is going to be something that's on the highest level, and therefore, what are we using? We're using the tachash skins, because not only doesn't need dye from the plant kingdom, but the very nature of it, the very nature of the animal is that it rejoices and takes pride in its colors, and it affects the character of the animal. So it's very the colors are very connected to specifically the animal kingdom, and therefore it surpasses even the ram skins that are dyed red. Okay. Okay, so now we're coming to the Chassidus, and I'm coming to this word chai. When we daven on Shabbos, right, we say ha'aderes v'ha'emuna l'chai olamim, habina v'abracha l'chai olamim. When we're talking about chai, yes, it's the animal kingdom, but if you go zoom out, if you want to attribute chai, life, what is the source of life? The truest source of life is Hashem, right? Okay, so this is why we're specifically using this word chai, and we're going to use this word chai with regards to in relationship to Hashem, and now everything's going to have a whole different meaning. Okay, so now that I say the word chai is Hashem, okay, now let's see how everything fits in the puzzle. Okay, to be part of the category of chai was the tachash skin's role, right? So we're making a connection the entire time that we're talking. We keep saying that this tachash, this animal, this colorful animal, and we keep connecting it to this word chai, or that it's a chaya, right? And we're not saying behema, we're saying chaya. We're saying we're keep connecting this word tachash to the word chai. Until now, we're saying chai as in chaya. But now that we're going to take in chai and we're using it for Hashem, let's see how this sounds. Okay, to be part of the category of chai was the tachash skin's role. This reflects the inner theme of the Mishkan as a whole. The reason why this tachash, you come to the Mishkan and you see it and you see this covering, and this is going to remind you the whole purpose of the Mishkan. And that's why it's the outermost covering. The term chai alludes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the source of vitality for all existence comes from his existence so true. So Hashem is the ultimate chai, and everything that exists only gets their existence from the true existence, which is chai elamim, which is Hashem. And the whole point of the Mishkan is where Hashem's essence is going to dwell. So it's all about Hashem being revealed in this world. Every entity in the world is divided into aspects 3. 1, its essential existence, which is a shared quality. 2, its distinctive character and defining nature, which differs from all other entities like fire and water. 3, secondary details that are additional to its essential character, they are not integral. The Mishkan expresses the chai, the life force connection between Hashem and even the most external aspects of creation, like coloration. Okay, so what are we saying? We're saying that every single thing has 3 aspects. One is the fact that it exists. The fact that it exists. And that everything that exists has equally exists from Hashem's life force. The fact that just the every single thing has a divine spark that keeps it in existence. That's number one. Once something exists, now if I have a bunch of things that exist, each thing has its own nature, has its own mission, has its own function. Each thing has its own function. And each thing is different than the other. For example, you can have fire and water. They're completely different from each other. One could even extinguish the other. Each one has its own nature. So the first thing is you have to exist. Once you exist, you have to have a function. And everything has a different function. And then the third part is details that are not part of your function. Like we said, the colors of the mixer. It's not part of your function, and it's not part of your essence, and it's just basically insignificant. If I have 2 apples, and one has, a little bit more red, one has a little bit more green, it doesn't take away from the essence. They're both apples. This one's gonna have a dent here, and this one's gonna be bruised here, and this one's gonna, have a streak of this color here, there. But the color of it is not gonna take away, doesn't take away from what it is. So that's the 3 aspects that everything has. It's the essence, your function, and then there's other details that it's not you. So I'm saying even like colors, you could say that, and if I wear this color, then I look better and it makes me feel good, whatever it is. But a color doesn't define a person. It could enhance a person. It has it's and we're going to see how important it is. But you don't I am not pink. I'm Hani. It doesn't define my essence. It's like a much more external outside detail that seemingly doesn't matter. Okay, but then eventually we'll see that it does matter. But for right now, okay. Okay. So we said there's 3 aspects in every single thing that exists. Now we're going to take this 3 aspects. I'm going to say that there's 3 aspects in the Mishkan also that correlate to the 3 aspects that every single entity has. Okay, I know that is very, very deep. So, yeah. Okay, three aspects within the Mishkan we also see. The vessels, which represent the defining nature of each entity, the planks, which surround everything equally, which represent that all beings exist because of Hashem only. Okay, so I'll take it slowly. Okay, so here the 1 and 2 is switched. Okay, because first we started with, we say just the fact that you exist. And then we said that every single thing has its own function. But in the Mishkan, the order is reversed. The first thing that Mishkan speaks about is that the Mishkan has vessels. You have a menorah, you have a shulchan, you have a mizbeach, and each thing has its own function, right? Each thing has its own job. Then there's the walls that surround the entire Mishkan. So that is equally protecting and clothing all the vessels equally. So that is like the first part, which we said before. You see, when we were talking about existence, we said that there's the essential existence, the fact that you exist, and that there's an equal kind of spark and everything that keeps in existence. So that is correlating to the walls, the krushim, the planks of wood that surround the entire thing equally. And then the vessels, that represents the function that every existence has their own function. Okay. And then number 3, the coverings that encompass the Mishkan that are higher. They represent the most external form that comes from Hashem's desire. They seem insignificant because they have bittul, compared to matter which comes from Hashem's speech and is material. Okay, this needs a lot of explanation. Okay, so now then the highest thing, you would think it's insignificant, but the highest thing is the covering, and specifically the tachash covering. And it seems like it's the most external, but we're going to learn something incredible that the Alter Rebbe discusses. And that is that the more external that it seems, the more insignificant that it seems, it's really higher. And the reason why it seems insignificant is because it's coming from Hashem's desire, and it's because it has bittul. Okay, what am I talking about? Okay, so basically, Hashem created the world. How did Hashem create the world? Hashem created the world with speech. 10 utterances. As soon as you speak, the speech leaves. When the speech leaves the person, it separates from the person, right? Like if you squeeze a tub of toothpaste, right? Once you squeeze it out, can't put it back in. Once you take a pillow and you cut it open and let the feathers go in the wind, good luck trying to get the feathers back. Once it leaves, it's separate from you. So speech represents separateness, even though there's nothing that's separate from Hashem. But that when we say Hashem spoke, because in relation to us, from Hashem's perspective, nothing is separate from him. But from our perspective, once Hashem speaks, we feel separate from Hashem. So when Hashem speaks, then what is created is something called the material, the matter, the atoms, the cells that come from Hashem's speech. That's from Hashem's speech, and that feels separate from Hashem. That's called the material or the matter of something. And then there's another word, and that is called the form of something. Because you could have a lump of clay. Now, what are you going to do with it? There's many different options of what you're going to do with it. So when Hashem created matter, right? Hashem spoke it into existence, and therefore all the matter, anything material, seems separate from Hashem. But what's going to become of it is the form that is Hashem's desire. Hashem didn't speak it. And therefore, it's higher, and it represents Hashem's will. And therefore, since it's higher and represents Hashem's will, therefore, it doesn't feel its own existence. It doesn't feel separate from Hashem. It's much more connected to Hashem. And that's why in this world, it seems insignificant, but not because it's really insignificant. It seems insignificant because it is nullified to Hashem.
Do you have an example?
I have to think.
Okay, the most furthest thing from Hashem is the most bittul. Because it takes on Hashem's highest desire, meaning its highest form.
It's hard for us to wrap our brain around it, because in this world, the more physical something is, and the more it feels separate from Hashem, the more real it feels. Because it doesn't have bittul. If anything that was spoken into anything material and physical, and the cells and the atoms, all those stuff, it all feels separate from Hashem because it came from Hashem's speech. Okay, I can't think of an example this second, maybe it will come. But basically what we're saying is that the things that seem most external and least important are really, really very important. And they're actually even higher. Okay, so the example the Sicha brings, which let's do the example of the Sicha, and then we'll try to figure it out together. Okay. These three aspects also exist in a person's service when we serve Hashem. One is actual mitzvah performance. Two, intention, which according to one's mind and heart does vary. Three, customs, which are not necessary for the mitzvah's validity. Okay, so you have three things. You have the mitzvah. Get the mitzvah done, right? You say the most important thing is action. 613 mitzvahs, and these are the mitzvahs, and this is what we have to do. That represents, like we said, the essence of something, and over there's equality. Moshe Rabbeinu puts on tefillin. Men put on tefillin in this generation. A mitzvah is a mitzvah. It's not that Moshe Rabbeinu gets more schar for putting on for the actual performance of a mitzvah versus someone in this versus someone in the Israeli army that puts on tefillin. It's the same mitzvah. You did it. And there's a higher level, which does vary between people, just like our nature is different, just like our function is different, and that is the kavanah that you have. Because everyone has, according to your heart and according to your mind, everyone is unique in the intention that they have. And then the third part of serving Hashem is a minhag, is a custom. You could say a minhag, it's just a minhag. Whether you do the minhag or not, it's not taking away from the essence of the mitzvah. So you could say, big deal. Big deal. I don't have to do the minhag. But here we're learning, what basically we're learning is turning everything upside down. The things that seem, it's just a minhag, it's just a custom, big deal. The reason why it seems insignificant is because the custom is most batal to Hashem, and it doesn't have its own, doesn't feel itself. And therefore to us it seems insignificant. But really, it's the highest level. And it says, minhag Yisrael Tairahi. A Jewish custom, this is Torah. And in a way, when you do a minhag, to do a mitzvah, okay, everyone has to do a mitzvah. Okay, I also have that kavanah because a mitzvah without kavanah is like a guf without a neshama. It needs wings to rise. Okay, I can understand I also have to need kavanah. But when I do the minhag, that's where I show my love. That's where I show that I care. That's where I show my commitment, my loyalty, my, that I really want to do it. It's in the thing that seemingly a big deal, like take a relationship, husband and a wife, right? The fact that the husband brings home the paycheck and the fact that the woman cooks supper or fill in the blanks, whatever you want to say. So that's a given. This is your role. This is your role. If you want to say the roles are vice versa, some men like to cook or women like to work, whatever you want to do. Okay, fine, whatever it is, whatever relationship it is. But where do you see the love? It's in the extra stuff. When you do something that is not expected, and it's the little things, that's where you see the commitment. That's where you see the love. If you're just doing what your role or what you're meant to do, okay, it's expected, kind of. But when you go the extra mile, that's where it's so special. So basically, the whole teaching. Okay, so I still need to finish this poem. I had a paragraph or two, but on my way here, I just said what seems insignificant is really most important. Take education, right? Until a bar bas mitzvah, big deal. But the fact that you take that I don't know. This is what I saw my parents. It's very interesting what you see in your own home. Like that's what you do. So my mother was very careful about washing the baby's negavasser, especially once they're able to eat regular food. So my son knows he's 2 and he always gets with his way. But when it comes to washing negavasser, it's not negotiable. It's not negotiable. Every morning we wash negavasser before I give him any food, and he knows. And it's so you could say, what's the big deal? He's having a tantrum. He's 2 years old. You're late for whatever. So he won't wash negavasser today. But it's in the negavasser. He's just 2. Wearing a yarmulke, training the kids to wear yarmulke at a young age, or the chinuch, everything that we're doing that seems like they don't really have an obligation to ... But that's where there's something so special. That's Hashem's desire. That's the extra mile, but that's really very, very, that's really connected to the essence, because the higher something is, the lower it can go. And basically what we're saying is that basically when you see the Mishkan and you see this tachash, and what's shouting at you? The color, and it's seemingly so insignificant. But what we're learning is that the color, which is most insignificant, is so connected to the chai, to the essence of life. And where do we learn this from? The tachash, which is colorful, which is such an external thing that doesn't matter. But with the tachash is the only animal that you see that the color, that's something so external, becomes its nature. It has joy and takes pride. It takes pride in its colors. So you see this connection in the tachash between the color, which is so external, and the chai, and the nature of the animal. So here we're switching, and we're saying that the chai is Hashem, and we're saying that the most external things, the colors, that is. Don't think that Hashem gives existence to everything to exist. And now that Hashem gives existence to everything that exists, He also, gives us our nature. But the color, you think Hashem cares what color it is? But you should know that the color, when Hashem gives life, He's giving life to all three, to your existence, to your function, to what you do, and to your color. And as a matter of fact, your color, it seems insignificant because it's really on a higher level, and it's really even more nullified to Hashem. So in a way, we have this concept of hashgacha pratis, that everything is divine, everything that happens, every tiny detail that happens is orchestrated by Hashem. The fact that a leaf falls from a tree, every single thing is to the most nitty-gritty thing. It's all Hashem is orchestrating every single thing. And in a way, I feel like we actually just from this pasuk, you see this concept of hashgacha pratis. Every detail to the last minute, to the color, to every little thing is something that Hashem is orchestrated by Hashem, down to the color, and even more so that the color is in a way surpasses everything. At the most, the details that seem so not important are actually so important. Okay, so like one thing, I don't know why it pops in my mind, is that there was an individual who was very careful about something that seems very insignificant, about how we're supposed to tie our shoes. You put the right shoe on first, then the left shoe, then you tie the left shoe, and then you tie the right shoe. And this guy, he was very careful about this, about how he put on his shoes and how he tied his shoes, whatever it is. And for whatever reason, he left the path of Judaism, and he met a woman who wasn't Jewish. And he was on his way walking down the aisle with this not Jewish woman to get married. And all of a sudden, he realized that his shoe is not tied. And he bent down to tie his shoe. And he's like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? From tying his shoelaces and realizing, hey, I tie my shoelaces in this reason because I'm a Jew. And he just, he said, never mind. And he left. I don't know how he ran away. Wow. But I'm saying, like, sometimes something insignificant. Another story that we would tell the kids, I remember in camp when we were teaching Al Sedayim, that there was, I don't know which war it was, there was a Jewish soldier, and he wanted to wash before eating bread. And the nearest place for washing was far away, like there was some stream or whatever it was. And he left the main camp to go and wash. And when he came back, everyone was dead. Because there was a bomb exploded, whatever it was. And because he went to wash, his life was saved. Yeah, that book. So I'm saying it's a little teeny tiny things that really make such a difference. When if you're making your kid lunch and you write a little note and you put it inside, whatever it is, like we have to start realizing. Now I'm saying to realize that it's the little things. A little bit goes a long way. You could say when I was at the conference, I was at the Kinnos, and they have a resource fair, and they have and they were selling a siddur for women. I know that it existed, but this is a siddur with a Chabad nusach, and I would have bought it for everyone, but it doesn't have any English translation. But what it has is it has 5 different tracks of davening. If you have 4 to 6 minutes, track A, 6 to 8 minutes, track B. I should have brought it. But basically, the point is, it's not all or nothing. If you only have a little bit of time, don't say, "Oh, big deal." If I say Shema Yisrael, like, come on, like you have 4 to 6 minutes, do track A. Do Shema Esrei, whatever it is. This concept of valuing even something small, because it's not even something small. It's the small things that really show our dedication and our love and our commitment. So also I was by the research sphere, and I was like, I really want to buy a gift for the hostesses that host us every week. And I wanted to do something to take the class up one notch, so anyway, so I have a present for Bela. If you want, you can open it. But basically, okay. So basically, okay, you open it and then we'll see what it is. Okay. Yeah. That's when he gets on Shabbos Friday night. We sing like, because that's the only part that I can read. So that's what we do. We dance together, we sing together, and that's, I don't know. It's interesting that you bring this idea, because I felt like
I wasn't doing enough because I was never finished the whole davening, but interesting that you think this point.
Yeah, I'll post information for the siddur if you're interested in it.
Yeah, I heard about it. It's genius. Like, I feel like so many women are like, oh, I can't done. I only have time. It's like, what do I start? What do I say?
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know if I should get it for everyone because I wanted a different nusach of how they daven, so I didn't,
Smart.
you know?
Yeah, please come up with a siddur like that.
Okay.
Oh wow, thank you. I need
Okay, so
tzedakah box.
okay, so I'm going to explain why.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my tzedakah box happens to be just the things. It's actually, I love it.
Okay, so what's special about this? What's special about that? Yeah, I don't know where that just goes, whatever. Maybe it's to hang on the wall. Maybe I don't know. Does it come with instructions?
I'll work with it. Okay.
Okay, so what's special about the tzedakah box is that it has a drawer underneath it to put little coins. So the point is, you think big deal. I'll put a nickel in the pushka before I daven. Like, come on, you can't even buy anything with a nickel. Used to with a nickel you could buy a gumball at least. Now you can't buy anything. So basically the thought was to just have a pushka on the table and put some coins inside.
You always have. You could just. That's what it was from. You can always pull out and put it.
Yeah, that's the point. To take even one little coin and put it in the pushka, and it gives an awareness, and B, don't underestimate the power of taking one penny and putting it in the pushka. And so, basically when we come together, we do Torah, but if we could add tefillah and tzedakah, those are the three pillars of how the world, stands. If you could say a kapitel of Tillim for all those that need, and to do one more little thing. It's one baby step. It's one baby step, but the more insignificant that it seems, it only seems insignificant because it's truly nullified before Hashem. And this is where we see Hashem's ratzain, Hashem's desire, not just his speech. Speech, whatever Hashem speaks, seems separate from Hashem. But Hashem's innermost desire, he doesn't speak it. He just imagines it. And desire, the ratzain, the desire is what is the form, and that is what the colors represent. When Hashem said, let there be light or let there be a sky, he wasn't saying what color it's going to be. That was just in his imagination, and that was his desire versus what he spoke. So the things that are most material, the things that are most the matter, that's what Hashem spoke. But the things that seem so secondary and seem so unimportant, it's only seems unimportant to us because it's really come from Hashem's desire. And when we do those seemingly insignificant things, that's where we show that we desire Hashem. Okay. Anyway, it's a very deep class and something that we have to marinate and think about.
We also remembered your story of how I think your husband gifted you with a siddur, but he specifically went.
That's so funny.
Pink.
That is so funny. Right? No, I wanted pink.
Right?
I made such a big deal.
Like, no, we learned this with another teaching, but like the fact that you went and bought specifically the color, like that's where you see the devotion and the dedication. Right.
He bought me like a very, very light, like a pearl color chitas, like it's a big, and I wanted hot pink. And I was like, and he also wanted to engrave the name. So he was, he brought it home, but I don't know why. I don't know what I remember the exact details. But everyone was like, my kids, they couldn't believe like just be happy. Like, why are you making a big deal about the color? But I was like, if I'm going to use it, like, why? I might as well say what I really want, desire. I ended up getting a hot pink one. It's a joke because everything that I always want everything hot pink, and my husband's like, that's not very ladylike, like it's like it's working for kids, but that the color, it's seemingly.
It seems insignificant, but it's really where you could show the most devotion, like in those insignificant matters.
Right.
Very true.
And we have to celebrate that. And it's okay, if that's what you like, then it's a gift. It's a gift, and I just want to share Malky Katz after the class. I don't know how she did it. I was still processing, but she wrote a beautiful poem. Let's see.
Short poem?
She wrote a little poem and she put it in a beautiful background.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow. I was still processing, and she wrote this like a few minutes after the class. She wrote, Hashem shaped you. Hashem shaped your form from his deepest desire, higher than the matter created when his words shaped the world's entire. Hashem created the whole world with matter. Hashem created all the matter of the world with his speech. But but the form, your form, that was not created from Hashem's speech. The form comes from Hashem's deepest desire. Desire is something he did not say. The desire is something that Hashem doesn't say, versus the form, the matter comes from Hashem's speech, and that feels separate from Hashem, and that's how Hashem created the world. But when Hashem created our form, our nature, that is from Hashem's deepest desire. It's even higher than creating the world. Your colors, your essence were chosen with love. So again, there's a connection between the outermost, what seems insignificant, the color, and the essence, because the higher you are, the lower you can go. And the whole time we'll keep saying that the tachash, what's so amazing about this animal, this tachash, is that its colors, which are so external, are so connected to its character, to its nature, to its essence. And what we're saying is that the things that are most external, your color, that your color is not something that Hashem, that is insignificant, but the color, it's not just that Hashem gives life to your core existence, but rather Hashem gives, what makes the color be the color is Hashem is giving it its life. And that the color that seems most insignificant is actually even more connected to life than the matter of something. Your colors, your essence were chosen with love. So basically we can see that from the Tachash we learn that the color is connected to the essence, to the highest, to the deepest life force. Unique qualities so holy. Okay, I have to read it together, so to rhyme. Your colors, your essence were chosen with love. Unique qualities so holy, they flow straight from above. What seems secondary is actually your highest light, a gift from Hashem, unnoticed, yet shining so bright. You are exactly who you were meant to be. Embrace your essence, let your beauty live free. Okay, it's amazing. Wow. It's amazing. So taken from project of the Sichos Parshas Terumah. So thank you, Malki, for sharing this. It's just beyond. And we have to marinate. We have to marinate in it. I can't tell you that I fully understand it, but I'm so grateful to even touch the ice, touch the tip of the iceberg, and to realize that every detail is orchestrated by Hashem. It's not just the big stuff. It's down to the color, and the more insignificant it seems, the more connected it really is. Okay, so we have a lot to think about. And I encourage everyone, go to projectofthesichos.org. There's more classes, there's resources, there's summaries, there's all, plenty of a smorgasbord of stuff. Okay.
It's so funny that, and it's not funny, but I try to practice. It's like, someone gifted, actually someone in my son's class, his parents make something called the marshmallows. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
No one here is going to read it. And I said, Chinese kids are going to love it. It's so colorful.
Look how colorful.
Every single thing is colorful.
Oh my goodness.
So funny that. And then I'm gifting this all to you to give your kids. Look at all these different unicorn colors.
Wow, looks like a unicorn.
Marshmallows. Isn't that funny?
Unbelievable. There we have a
Anyway.
picture of the unicorn right there.
You want them? I don't know, it's a very interesting.
Okay. It's perfect. Yeah.
We're not actually in my house, and I'm like, I love my cake, whatever. Okay, I'm sure your kids will enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Very funny, it's colorful.
Oh gosh, okay, it's so late. Okay, I'm so sorry.